Hi guys, it's Ron from Royal Bowls. It's been a while since I've done one of my Roundup videos, so I do have some big news which you're going to have to wait till the end for. In the meantime, let's kick off the video with some bloopers. What you see in some of my snake ID videos, and in particular the last Orange Dream video, is some fairly well behaved snakes. That is actually what you see on camera. What you don't see on camera is the next section. This is what it's actually like to try to film a bunch of baby snakes. So the first baby, come on guys, settle down. So the first baby that I'm going to show you, and Dad's getting a bit squirrely here. The first baby I'm going to show you is a juvenile Orange Dream Yellow Belly, just like Dad. Work really well together to give you this much more reduced and banded pattern. Very few alien heads, really clean. The simplified pattern of Orange Dream Vanilla, combining the two, and we get, wow, we get the reduced pattern. We get the reduced pattern of our Orange Dream Vanilla with that awesome colour from Orange Dream. With that awesome colour from Orange Dream Yellow Belly, and just look at the flames and tram lines. But the Orange Dream Yellow Belly combination here is obviously having a strong influence on pattern. So that's something that we learnt this year. Mixing Orange Dream, which is a pattern reducer, with Vanilla, which is normally just an enhancer, actually gives a really strong reaction. So there we go guys, all three snakes together. Orange Dream Yellow Belly, Orange Dream Vanilla, and Orange Dream Yellow Belly Vanilla. Okay, let's talk about snakes escaping. Yes, it has happened to me. I have a dedicated snake room and the door is usually shut, so the snakes cannot get out of the snake room. But I also live in the tropics, so my snakes do not necessarily seek out a warm place to hide. They also can go where they please and don't have to come out in order to get warm. So let's have a look at what happened with the latest incident when a couple of my snakes got out. So we have a small admission to make here. We did have an escapee. This tub does have the potential to not sit in the rack properly and fall out. And whether it was me that left it like that or whether the snake shoved it and the rack fell out, the snake managed to escape. Now, when they escape, they do not generally climb straight down the rack and then across the open floor. What typically happens is that they go to the back of the rack until they find a wall and then they move along the edge. It's much more secure there. So the snake gets in behind here and it shoves the tub open. And as it moves across the rack, it shoves other tubs open as well. So when I came down in the morning, there were 3 tubs open where this snake had crawled along the back of the rack and pushed out other tubs. Now, one of the snakes was still in its tub. The other one was nowhere to be seen, so we had 2 snakes out. But as I said, typically snakes can't cross this gap here without climbing down to the floor, and they rarely do that. It goes this way along the edge of the wall. It climbed up on top of the terrarium, knocking these onto the floor as it went, across these tubs here and down here to the hatchling rack, and again it found the space at the back of the tubs and moved along the wall along the hatchling rack. As it went, pushing open tubs along the way, so I could trace exactly where the snake had gone based on which tubs were pushed open. Nothing in the hatchling rack had got out. The tubs were barely pushed open, and there were 2 rows, a row at about mid-level and a row down here where the other snake that got out had followed exactly the same route. Behind here and behind the racks, and again, tubs were half open like that where the snake had transited the back of the rack. Now, the snake room is at ambient temperature, and so the snakes are looking for somewhere secure. And sure enough, when I pulled out this tub to clean this snake, the tub was very, very stiff. I could barely get it open, and when I tried to push it back, it wouldn't go back. So I found the first snake not very far away in that back corner there. The other snake, meanwhile, had transited across the floor, across here, and with a little bit of detective work, you can see where it had gone. It went behind here, behind this rack, and I could tell from labels on the floor that the snake was somewhere in this rack. When I got my torch and shined it in there, there was an adult black pastel female tucked away underneath the tub, and that is invariably where my snakes go. They don't go far, they don't travel across open spaces, and they always find their way under tubs in this really tight, secure space in the rack. Invariably, that's where they go. Alright, let's talk a little bit about snake bites. And yes, all of us do get bitten from time to time, and I had a particularly bad feeding session the other day, which I did film the results of. Blood everywhere, so I'm going to own up to it and also tell you what happens not just to us when we get bitten, but also what can possibly happen to your snake. We very rarely hear, when people talk about snake bites, about how bad it can be for the snake. So I'm going to highlight that in this blooper. Let's talk a little bit about snake bites. Yes, we all get bit from time to time. There are usually two types of bites: a defensive bite, when you startle a snake or it feels threatened, but the most common type is when the snake makes a mistake during feeding and it bites you instead of the prey. Now, ball pythons, in contrast to their reputation, are not picky eaters. If you provide them with the right stimuli, they are extremely aggressive feeders. I typically will scent the room with rodents prior to feeding, which switches all of the snakes on. They immediately smell the presence of prey in the room, and this switches them on. Scent is probably the most important stimulus to feeding. The other two are shorter ranged stimuli, which is movement and heat signature. So my snakes are usually primed and ready to eat when I start to open tubs. And movement and heat signature are the remaining two stimuli to get a snake to eat. Simply opening the tub provides movement, and very often, if you're not careful, your hand provides the heat signature, which is the last stimuli the snake needs to strike, and it does not hesitate. So if your hand is in the wrong place, you will be bitten by accident instead of the prey. So all these bites you see here are examples of feeding bites, and I had a particularly bad day. Either my timing was off or the snakes were particularly aggressive, and I did get bitten more than once during this feeding session. What is it like to be bitten? Well, it's more startling because it happens so quickly than it is actually painful. You slide open a tub and a snake comes flying out, and if you're in just the wrong position, you get bitten. Your eyes register the snake striking, but your reactions, it cannot keep up with the speed of the snake, so you see it coming, but you're unable to move quickly enough to get out of the way, and that's kind of scary. There's usually a lot of blood, capillary blood. The skin is penetrated and there is an anticoagulant in there that keeps you bleeding. But we hardly ever hear about the effects on the snake. Typically, a snake will have latched onto us with its teeth and we react a split second too late and pull away. And this actually can harm the snake. Teeth can break off and be left in the skin. And over the course of the next few days, just like a splinter if you've been chopping wood, that causes a little bit of inflammation around the wound. And here is an example of a small laceration that did in fact contain an embedded tooth. And you can see I did manage to pull the tooth out a couple of days later, and the swelling immediately subsided. Now, this process is quite normal for a snake. It is normal for them to break teeth when they attack their prey, and the snake will typically replace the teeth very quickly. But there is a very small possibility that the broken tooth can actually stick into the gum of the snake and cause a slight impaction, which can swell up and become infected. This typically happens when we feed live prey, but also happens if we get bitten and snatch our hand away from the snake. That is guaranteed to break teeth. So we should try to avoid that for the sake of the snake, not just for the sake of ourselves. So use long tongs and get that heat signature of your hand well away from the snake when you open tubs. Snakes' immune systems are stronger than our own, and typically an impacted tooth will heal just as quickly as it does if it's stuck in your skin. But it can be quite alarming to a new owner. Okay, many of you know I have other hobbies aside from snakes, and a lot of you have asked what I do in my spare time. So, I do motorcycling.
I started riding bikes at a very early age, road, track, trials and now hard enduro. And these days I don't spend a great deal of time on the track, I spend more of my time on the dirt. And even today, whilst it's exciting to do jungle trails, we still do slow drills. So here you can see full lock turns, practicing balance, throttle and clutch control, and doing it as tightly and as slowly as possible. We also tackle hazards in the same way, and this is another drill that we do for log jumping, and the idea here is to practice technique rather than use momentum to get over the hazard. So we approach the hazard very slowly and then use correct weighting and de-weighting with throttle control and clutch control to get over the hazard in a controlled manner. Of course, these hazards are quite small and easy, but every once in a while it's good to pull back and just practice technique without actually having a hazard that's so big and scary that it puts you off your technique.
I build models.
Another one of my hobbies, which is very absorbing and occupies a great deal of time, is building models. And here are some examples of models that I have built. I build ships, I build aircraft, I build tanks, but primarily I enjoy building aircraft, and specifically World War II aircraft, but I do build modern jets as well, and I really love the research that's involved in building some of these aircraft and making them look as realistic as possible.
And I enjoy fishing, and I've done videos before on some of my fishing holidays, and I am about to go to Oman for a 2-week fishing holiday next week.
And another hobby that you guys already know about is fishing, and in particular tropical sport fishing, which can at times be absolutely brutal. The fish are massive, the environment can be brutal, but it does take me to some very out-of-the-way places with spectacular scenery. And in fact, I'll be going to Oman next week for a 2-week fishing holiday on a mothership operation off the coast of southern Oman. We'll be fishing with the No Boundaries operation, and we'll be casting surface poppers for some of the biggest GTs on the planet. My personal best is the first fish in the photo that you saw, which is 42 kilos, but they have had fish approaching 70 kilos. That could kill me at my age, but it's definitely not going to stop me from trying.
Alright, so now for the big news. The more sharp-eyed amongst you will have noticed that in the background here there are quite a few empty tubs, and behind the camera over here there are a lot more empty tubs. It's more than time for a revamp of my collection, and that was already planned with ARP so that we could both get rid of some of our surplus snakes. Our collections were getting too large and we had a lot of snakes that would never be bred again. So we decided that we were going to revamp our collections. Now, my wife works for Petronas, and yes, I did say Petronas, not Patronus, which even Google pronunciation gets wrong. So pay attention. Bahasa Malaysia is a phonetic language, with each letter being assigned a sound which does not change with the word the letter is in or the sentence. Formula One commentators also get it wrong, which is particularly annoying. The correct pronunciation is Petronas. Here is my wife, a native Malaysian speaker, telling you what company she works for.
It's Petronas. It's Petronas.
Alright, don't we learn a lot on this channel? So now for the big news. Where am I going with this? We've been posted. My wife has been assigned to Korea. Petronas are building a floating liquid natural gas production plant in Go-jae in South Korea, which is very close to Busan. Here's a map of where we're going to be sent. It's a 3-year posting and my snakes can't go. So, what is happening? Well, I'd already told you that we were revamping our collections. That revamp is going to be more significant for me. ARP has agreed to take over my collection and manage my collection for the 3 years that I'm going to be based in Korea. I will still not be working. I will be acting as a representative for ARP in Korea to find out if it's possible to import snakes into Korea and sell them to the Korean market. This is a great opportunity to explore some business opportunities for expanding the ball python market for ARP. When I come back again in 3 years' time, I will pick up my collection where it left off. It will be managed, and I have asked Arowin to look after my snakes as if they were his own and to breed them and do with them as he sees fit. And I will pick up in 3 years' time. So what's going to happen to the channel? The channel is going to stay active. No videos are going to be taken down. I will be travelling backwards and forwards to Malaysia quite often, and of course visiting my snakes and ARP. So I will be making new videos from time to time. The existing videos will stay up, and anybody that has any questions and wants to comment on any of the videos can still do so, and I will answer those comments. I've worked hard to build the channel up to this level, and I don't want it to stop now. And since I will be coming back to Malaysia and picking up the snake hobby again, I will keep the channel as active as I possibly can. There may even be some alternative content, because the fishing in South Korea, particularly the sea fishing, is quite spectacular, and I'm really looking forward to doing some serious fishing. So whilst I am getting rid of all the snakes in order to move to Korea, this is far too good a career opportunity for my wife and a great opportunity for us guys to get some more life experiences. And since I am retired and not working, I owe it to my wife to support her fully in her own career. And this is a great career advancement for her. It's a next rung up in responsibility. So too good an opportunity to miss, and I'm certainly going to support her to the fullest of my capabilities in that endeavour. Alright guys, that's the big news. Drop down in the comments, let me know what you think. Let me know how disappointed all you guys are that I'm getting rid of all my snakes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.